Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, well, you know who I am, and I'm here to talk about the music of Uriah Heep, and even Uriah Heep likes the fact that I'm here to talk about the music of Uriah Heep because they have endorsed the show, which is so cool. Now, you might think that I would not be so excited and exuberant to talk about a song called Tears in My Eyes because it sounds painful. But let me tell you, I queued up the song, to get it ready to integrate the parts into the show. And I actually just listened to half of the song and I thought, wait a minute, I have to stop because I have work to do. I'm not here to just listen to the song. I'm here to share the song with you guys and my thoughts on the song and all the cool things that happened in the song. But that's just how much I enjoy the song. I was so ready to just get to work. I queued it up. I usually queue it up. It starts. I hit pause and I go back to the beginning and just have it ready to go so that when I'm done with my intro, I can just hit record on the digital audio workstation and play on the music player and integrate the song into the show. But yeah, I just got so lost in it because it was so much fun to enjoy. I was halfway through the solo and I'm like, I should probably stop here. And then I said, well, you can't just stop in the middle of that. So anyway, it's all queued up and ready to go now. But this is another song off the Look at Yourself album, and it's a great rock and roll song. I know that they've done this live, at least they used to. And the problem is that with 24 albums, there's so much to choose from, and you only get so much time on the stage, and you really have to pick and choose what you're going to fill that time up with. And there's certain songs that you have to do. You have to do Easy Livin'. You're pretty much probably going to do Gypsy, Lady in Black, all the ones that people really know. Stealin', you'd have to do that. But everything else is kind of, we got to do some off the new album. We want to do some off the new album. We've got to do some that people are expecting or counting on us to do. And that's the real challenge of being in a band that spans the course of half a century, is that you've got so much material out there when you've only got an hour and a half or however long on stage. That time goes by so fast, and you can't just fill up that with the song material. And when you play live, you're going to add some things. They're going to go a little faster because your tempos are going to be a little quicker. But there's only so much time, and you're going to be talking to the crowd. You're going to be taking a breather. You're going to be letting your hands rest for a second here and there. So you only get so much time within that time to fill with music, and you really have to be picky on what you play. But I know that that this one was done live. I think there's a version of it on Live in '73. I'll have to check, but I'm positive that there is actually. But it's a great song, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, even though I just said we were going to just do it, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, it is Christmas Eve. So Merry Christmas Eve or Happy Christmas or however you want to say it. For those of you who don't, welcome to Thursday. Now... and I don't care what people celebrate as long as they're happy and taking care of each other and not hurting anyone or putting bad stuff into the world. Do whatever feels good to you. Don't judge other people for what they do. That's not important. Again, with the caveat of if they're doing bad things that hurt people, judge that. That's fine. But just enjoy the holidays. And I often think too, I grew up in Michigan, so we had winters and we had snow that would start in October. It wouldn't be gone until April, May sometimes. And that was part of Christmas, the 1.5 feet of snow, wondering if we were going to get stuck on the way to grandma's house for Christmas Eve. And, now I live in the desert, and we had snow last year that lasted 1.5 days, and then it was gone like it never happened. And I think about people that grew up maybe south of the equator or just in parts of the country that are in warmer climates where they grew up in areas where Christmas wasn't all about snow and, everything that you see in a Christmas movie. The Christmas movies play to that, the old idea of Christmas in Europe, and Christmas in Europe was lots of snow and Christmas trees and caroling and all that sort of thing. And of course, this year is different. I don't know how many people are actually going caroling. Please don't. That just doesn't sound like a good idea. But they're basing it off these 200 and 300-year-old concepts where that's how it was. And, now people are all over the world. And it's interesting that we stick to that tradition of what we expect Christmas to be. And I think the same could be said of rock bands. You were wondering where I was going with this. I was going to talk about Uriah Heep. It's the same that could be said about rock bands. You think of a band like Black Sabbath that they wrote some interesting things, but a lot of their songs were very straightforward. Same with most rock bands. Most rock bands are 4/4 time, maybe a 3/4 here and there. It's mostly based off of guitar riffs. Some of the bands had keyboards. Not all of the bands at this point in time had keyboards. Sometimes they would use them to fill in the studio, but they wouldn't be out on the road. And but Uriah Heep really broke the mold, I think, of traditional songwriting. It's not, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, solo, however you want to reconfigure that group of ideas. They just go off on tangents. They change things around. They put in parts that are completely unexpected. They do, to some extent, stick to that songwriting format because how can you not? You're going to have choruses. Not every song has a chorus, though. I shouldn't say that because the last one we listened to didn't. Well, that was one that did have a chorus, but other ones on this album don't really have a chorus. And it's so they're just, every song is different. It's a different arrangement. It's not that, okay, we're going to have our 30-second intro and then we're going to do 4 bars, then we're going to bring the vocals on and the vocals are going to sing 4 lines or 8 lines, and then we're going to go into a pre-chorus only on the first verse, into the chorus, and then we're going to repeat the chorus, and then it's going to go into another verse and chorus. Then we'll do a guitar solo, then verse, chorus, until we either end it or fade it out. It's like there's such a standard formula for writing rock and roll, but not with Uriah Heep. They have some songs that follow a part of that formula or different configurations of that formula, but sometimes they just go in all different directions. And, sometimes the lyrics are done halfway through the song and the rest of it is instrumental. You just never know what you're going to get. And that's what I really like. But this one is more of a straightforward rock and roller, but they bring in that, that wonderful vocal section that we have come to adore so much. And they do a really cool part in this song with Mick backing it up. We'll get to all of that. You'll hear it in the song. It's really cool. So anyway, that was my Christmas comparison to Uriah Heep. I don't know if that made any sense to anyone but me, but there it is. You can rewind and try and figure it out if you like. There's no code. It just is what it is. If you want to yell at me about that, you can contact me directly at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on the Facebook group at Uriah Heep. Well, it's Facebook/Uriah Heep Podcast. Our website is scotthaskin.com/ a bunch of words and underscores, but just go to that site and then click on the Uriah Heep Podcast link. It's the easiest way to do it. At Twitter, you can find us at Heep Podcast, and on Instagram at Uriah Heep Podcast. Now, I've had interesting interactions with people on every platform. There's probably more people email me directly, but it's always nice to interact on the socials as well, where everybody can kind of share into the conversation. And I definitely encourage you to do that. I'm not ever claiming to be a historian of the band. There's so much about them that I don't know. This podcast really just focuses on the music, not the history. And just that's, we dig into one song each episode. The first episode's a little bit longer because we have the new album to set up. But apart from that, it's really all about the music for me. And I'm grateful for the people I've had the chance to meet so far. I'm sure that there will be more to come over time. But this has been a blast so far. And I'm really excited for you guys to be with me on this chilly time in Vegas, where it's even chillier in other places. I don't know if chillier is even a word, but it is now because it went over media. So let's get into, I still sound too happy to be saying this. Let's get into Tears in My Eyes. Just kicking in with straight power right off the bat. Great riff. And, we're not hearing organ. So I'm guessing that Ken is playing the rhythm guitar through this, and Mick Box is playing the lead over it. Really great sound between the two guitars, however they're being recorded. Really like that. And then, of course, we got a really great groove from Paul Newton and Iain Clarke on drums. And yeah, we're off to a good start for this one. And this is about normally time where they would change and go into a couple other parts, but they go straight for the vocal here. So here is David Byron.
I thought no one could keep us from sharing the rest of our life. Like a fool, I believed you were true and you had no disguise. There's a clear blue sky outside and the summer is fine. But with tears in my eyes, I'm no longer pretending you're mine.
One thing that's really interesting here is that we are about 50 seconds in and we're already past the first verse and chorus. And normally with the Uriah Heep song, we would just about be getting to the first verse by this point, maybe sometimes more than a minute. But there's no messing around here. They're just going right for it. And it's a short verse. It's only a couple of lines. And it gets into a chorus, which has a great vocal to it. I really like what they did with the vocals in this one. It's not too high in the harmonies at this point. It's just a nice thickening more than anything, but sounds really good. And man, pay attention to what Paul Newton's playing, because he's playing some really cool stuff during that chorus. Just really, really good. And I love that screechy sound that Mick is getting. I don't normally like a screechy sounding guitar, but on this, it really works. And it's not that ear piercing. It's actually just really nice the way it sits in the mix.
It's the same worry story of a woman abusing her man. So I'll have to forget you, though I'm not even sure if I can. There's a clear blue sky outside and the summer is fine. But with tears in my eyes, I'm no longer pretending you're mine.
One thing that these guys are clearly skilled at is taking something that is just, got a good drive to it and just very quickly diminishing it down to something very minimal and elegant. And I love the sound of the tremolo here. The guitar is playing nicely, some great tones, a little work on the wah pedal, if I'm hearing that right. And, a little bit of drums come in and an acoustic guitar. And so we just had this hard driving rock song, and within a minute and a half, we're down to this just gentle, diminished little piece of music. And there are not a lot of bands that can do that really well as consistently as Uriah Heep does. I can't really think of any that do it as often, but certainly no one with the skill to do it the way that Heep does consistently every song they do it in. And here going to another section where we're hearing the vocals being more of a melodic instrument than telling the story. I can't really get behind phrases like la 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 unless I look at it as the vocals being an instrument. Even going back to like the early days of the Beatles, where it's like, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we get it. She loves you, great. And I've never really liked passages like that. But if I look at the vocals or the voices as another instrument where, they're filling in for a keyboard or overlaying a part over a guitar or something like that, then I actually can really enjoy it, because then it's just the sound of the voice as a melody and as a rhythm at the same time. And, a part like this I can really get behind because it sounds beautiful. And even though you've got some rock and roll behind it, these angelic sounding voices, it really works. It's a great contrast. But most importantly, it moves the song forward. It keeps it interesting. And they're so good at the harmonies that I imagine the question in every song would be, where are we going to put the harmony? Because when you have an instrument that sounds that good, why wouldn't you want it on anything, But they use it reasonably tastefully, or I should say reasonably sparingly would be the word that I'm looking for. It's always tasteful. And I think that they've done it a bit on this album already. But I think it works great in this song. I think it's something to really move it along. The song could be shorter if it wasn't in there, or they just put a different section in. But I kind of like that it just keeps it moving. It keeps building and building and building as we're going to get into the solo here. But I think it's pretty cool overall. I would say there's not a lot of this that I would want to hear on repeat. And when I've heard other bands try to do similar things, I oftentimes don't like it, but maybe it's just how beautiful the harmonies sound that I can get behind it. I'm not really sure what it is. As a producer, I probably would have wanted to maybe trim this down a little bit, saying, well, the build doesn't need to be as long as it is. But, when you've got something that sounds this good, it's kind of understanding you want to keep doing it. That little swirling sound, that must be the Moog that Manfred Mann played on this song. I think that could have been done easily with vocals and probably come out a little bit nicer. Again, I think the part could have maybe gone on a bit too long. It could be shorter, because that synth is kind of annoying. But, the song's trucking along. I like that. I like the rhythm of it. I like the acoustic and electric going here. The strumming of the acoustic's really aggressive sounding. You could really hear how hard the pick is hitting those strings. And that part sounds pretty cool. The combination of acoustic and electric guitar I really like throughout this part. Another great solo from Mick. I just love the sound he's getting on this album. It's so rich and full, and it's got a lot of bottom end to it without having a bassy sound to it, which is a really nice place for the guitar to sit at, because really you're going to have the bass drum and the bass player filling in those areas. When you have a keyboard player, they tend to keep one hand on the lower notes as well. So sometimes it can be a little bit overkill in rock and roll how much low end is in the guitar. But I think right here it sits perfectly. I wouldn't want to be any tinnier or more mid or high range on the guitar in this one, but definitely has a great sound. And of course, that was a great solo. And you got some interesting drum pattern changes there playing behind that. Just I can't believe how fast the song is going. It's a 5-minute song. We're 4 minutes into it already, and I feel like we just started it. It's going quick, this one. Did you guys catch that little vocal in the background there? I'm going to play it for you again, and maybe you'll hear it. It's very far in the background, but it's definitely in the mix, and that's so unexpected. I have to laugh. Well, hopefully you guys caught it that time. If you didn't, rewind and try again. It says just goes dun 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 dun, and then dun dun in the background with the voice. Really cool. Just a nice little thing to throw in there. Barely perceptible. I've never noticed that before. Again, it could be because this is a remastered version of the song that cut through a little bit, but certainly unexpected and very interesting. And you think about, wow, he sat there, he timed it out, he hit the note, and it's so far in the background, you wonder if it was worth that effort. Well, I can tell you right now, sitting here listening to it, it was worth that effort.
It's the same worry story of a woman abusing a man. So I'll have to forget you, though I'm not even sure if I can. There's a clear blue sky outside and the summer is fine. But with tears in my eyes, I'm no longer pretending you're mine.
Next time you listen to the chorus, take a moment and really pay attention to what Paul Newton is playing during that. It's really cool. Really like the runs during where the vocal lines are. Really cool stuff, keeping that moving forward. And he really has a lot of responsibility holding up a lot of low end in this song because there's no keyboard there to assist. And the bass drum is basically non-existent in this mix. It's really just a tap more than anything bigger. I think if it were a little bit punchier and audible, I think that could really drive this song even more. So Paul Newton really has a lot of responsibility to keep this one trucking along, and it sounds great. And then, of course, great ending, nice little work from Mick there. And then they get into the weird panning and delays again. It just, I'm not sure that really worked here. I like a nice balanced mix. And when you listen to that last part going into and through the last verse in the chorus, this song just sounds so full and rich and perfect. Everything's balanced, and all the instruments are really strong, except again for the bass drum, but you've got the bass guitar helping to move it forward. And then, then they hard pan it to the left and then pan it back to the right as it decays with the effect. And it's just kind of weird. Like it just feels like all of a sudden this song that's been on this track, just trucking along, moving forward, is all of a sudden just like, yeah, maybe I'll go over here. Well, no, maybe I'll go over there. It's just kind of a weird way to end the song to me. But like I said, everything is a choice that they made, and everything is done in that moment, what they feel is the right thing to do. And the mixing engineer, for whatever reason, chose that. Maybe he was with the producer or the manager. I mean, who knows what was going on at that moment? It could have been the band that decided it. I have no idea. But either way, I just think it's kind of a weird ending. But it's a great song, great rock and roller, and just keeps, from the time that it goes out of the gate, even though it has a slower part in the middle of the song, it really doesn't seem like it loses any momentum, which is nice. A lot of times when it slows down, the song just kind of goes, you're going to have to win me back after you've stopped. You had me, I was hooked, and now you've gone in a different direction and you've kind of lost me as a listener. This one, honestly, it just flows from one thing right into another so effortlessly that I don't think it loses anything at all, even with that middle choral section in there. So not that would diminish a song, but I mean, when you have a song that's got a pace like this one does, it can easily diminish it. I don't think it does in this case because they just keep starting a new build and then build on that and go back into the solo. But it can, like those kind of things can really kill a song. And but in this case, I don't think it does. I think it works perfectly, and we get another opportunity to hear those great harmonies that they do that they're so well known for. And then you've got the staccato notes, and then you've got a great groove and a great rhythm section. Really, just another great song from Uriah Heep. So that's it for Christmas Eve, guys. Go have a wonderful dinner, whatever you're going to do. Your Zoom meetings. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying responsibly and helping to stop the spread of COVID so we can get Uriah Heep and other bands back on stage and out on tour where they belong. Of course, I am looking forward to the new Uriah Heep album. I will admit that. I think Living the Dream, their last album, I think is one of their best. And I'm really looking forward to what they have in store for us next. But for now, we're still on Look at Yourself, which is like album 3 out of 24. And the new album will be 25. So we have a ways to go to catch up. Everybody have a safe and wonderful holiday. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!